extent to which real estate is being held by a bank, there are some restrictions under Canada's Bank Act. Can some of the activities of the bank be taken as dealing in goods or merchandise? Disclosure would need to be enhanced to accommodate the non-interest nature of these products. One of the issues we've seen is that if capital is being sourced largely from abroad, be it from the Middle East or wherever, there could be concerns raised, or I know there are concerns raised with respect to ownership and control. The Bank Act has very stringent requirements as to Canadian ownership. So how is that going to be met? Those requirements be met, and then what is the uncertainty over whether Canadian courts will render verdicts in commercial disputes based on Sharia law. There are some tax implications as well, and John Telios had alluded to those earlier today. I won't get into it in any great detail. And then I talked about sukuks, where the Ontario government needs to look at or consider what legislation needs to be amended. More broadly, in terms of challenges and opportunities, then in terms of sukuks and creditor rights, given the East Cameron bankruptcy in the U.S. and Nakhil's problems, which have been widely known, how is that going to pan out? Being an accountant, I have to make the pitch for accounting, and we've issued accounting opinions on some of these products. The devil is in the detail, and do these products stay on balance sheet or off balance sheet? How do you treat the return or interest or in the financial statements of these institutions? Those need to be considered as well. And then finally, the shortage of human capital, and the Financial Times quote from 2007, and I think the Sharia scholars might cover this in the next panel discussion as well, which leads me nicely into then my colleagues' discussion on talent.
Thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much for inviting the TFSC to present this afternoon. Just to pick up on some points that both Jeff and Steve have made in the attractiveness of Toronto for being a financial sector hub for Islamic finance. The TFSA has been established to do two main things: to create and to communicate internationally and certainly in this country the areas in which the financial sector needs to be strengthened, and specifically the areas in which human capital need to be developed, and the partnership that needs to be established between educational institutions, whether those are colleges, universities, professional associations, and the programs that they can bring to strengthen the sector in terms of ensuring that it's a base of talent available if an industry needs to develop a presence here. We are not unique in looking at the talent matters for Islamic finance. We have a number of examples of countries who have gone before us. Bahrain, through its BIBF, Malaysia, where I have done extensive work and know that there are a number of different types of educational institutions that can do and be tremendously beneficial in a market like ours. We see even in Canada examples of educational institutions beginning to look at opportunities of getting programs started. Centennial has started. I know that Rotman is looking at some things that they'd like to do in the fall as well. Our Islamic Advisory Board is also doing programs. So there's a general awareness that if you want to build a strong sector, you've got to have the talent base to be able to support that sector, not only for the institutions themselves, but also to give a broader acceptance and public knowledge of what the industry brings to Toronto. And so specifically, the Center of Excellence in Financial Services Education of the TFSA has two main mandates. One, to stimulate and to be a catalyst for areas of education and training that we see are essential to the market and not yet being done. And we serve as a coordinating role. We are not aligned to any particular institution, whether it's a financial institution or an educational. We are basically trying to get the best for this market in whatever area of training that is required. And so we see this whole initiative as one in which the Center of Excellence can do a number of things. as an aggregator of training and educational opportunities. We can serve a function of basically trying to identify what are the areas of accreditation, training, programming that will be needed to ensure that there's a solid, stable base of talent for the Islamic Finance Group. What are some of the technical, interpersonal, if I can call it that, compliance type areas that we need to look at that should also be part of the educational community? And if we want to have these things done in an expeditious manner, what are some of the partnerships or strategic alliances that we can strike to ensure that we learn and bring to Canada some of the best examples of educational approaches done internationally and have those implemented here as well? We also, at the Center of Excellence, serve a role of going out to the educational community and speaking with students who are in colleges, universities, at any level of the education system, basically to advise them of trends in the financial services sector, Islamic finance being one of them. We speak with the educational community and students to basically get them to understand if this is an area that they'd like to play in, if this is an area that they'd like to work in, here are some of the courses that you need to actually do if you want to be eligible for jobs that may be available in the sector. So we have a strong outreach role in terms of going out and advising students what courses, what programs, and so need to be completed. In addition to going out to the educational community, we have an additional outreach mandate to go out to population groups, whether they talent groups, whether they are new immigrants, whether they are people who are basically wanting to shift into a new area of work and a new area of expertise, to go out to that group as well, and basically to advise them of the types of skills that are required, the types of jobs that are available. And so Islamic finance is, again, going to be one of those where we would play a coordinating role and work with the committee that is established at the TFSC to sort of raise the awareness of not only the skills and education required, but also the opportunities in terms of work. For those of you who have seen the recent budget by the minister, you would know that a huge emphasis is being placed on workforce development and the attraction of high quality institutions to this hub. So there are a number of indicators coming forward that this is an opportunity for Toronto at this time to look at building the city as a hub for not only North America, but for the Americas in general. And probably in closing, in terms of looking at talent and the region at this point in time, there's an opportunity, I think, for us, and this group basically believes that there's an opportunity for us to do this and get this right from the outset. There's an opportunity for us to create now a made-in-Canada version of the education, the institutional development, the sectoral development that is specific to this type of region. There's an opportunity for us to look at a structured and coordinated approach to what's happening at an institutional level in terms of the industry and at an educational level with colleges, universities, and associations. It's the right time and the right opportunity to bring together the teams that are needed for this region, whether those be lawyers, accountants, Sharia scholars, and so on. And I know that there are a number of jurisdictions that will be more than willing to partner with us in trying to get this right at the outset. And so while we sort of wait to get all of the ducks aligned, whether those are from a regulatory perspective or from a policy perspective, the TFSC and specifically the Center of Excellence will be moving ahead to try and ensure that we have the right types of education in place so that when the sector needs the people, they have been developed. And so that's the summary. We have spoken rather quickly. We are open to questions if we have the time, but if not, we'll broach those individually. Thank you very much.